Hey, welcome to another edition of Big Board Battles. We have a very special game for you today because I did not actually participate in this game. I was a spectator, but that's okay because it gave me a more, let me step back to just kind of look at what they did and how they did it. Normally I'd be playing a game while this was going on, but we had this little King of the Hill kind of semi-tournament thing at a local store, and it was just whoever showed up. It wasn't anything big. Whoever showed up, small little one-off double elimination thing, so we all got to play each other and things like that. And there was 5 of us that showed up, so obviously one of us had to sit out the first game, and I was chosen to be the first round bye. So I was like, you know what? This is boring just sitting here. So let's take some pictures and make a report out of it. And that's what I did. So we have the Empire of Sonnstahl versus the Dwarven Holds in a no-holds-barred grudge match. I think all fights against Dwarven Hold armies are grudge matches, technically. I don't know. Anyway, let's get to it. This is a Dwarven army, and all the models are painted. They're all painted very beautifully. He has a very heavy infantry list. He has 2 organ guns, king on a throne. He has the anvil of power, or whatever it's called now. Some forge wardens, some marksmen, or some deep watch, I should say, and 2 of those vengeance seekers, or what have you. So we'll see how he does. And we have an empire list, a very robust empire list with a Lord on a hippogriff, I believe that's what they're called. The arcane engine, 2 priests, 2 wizards, I should say, of divination, and a couple priests, I think, behind that, a banner guy, 2 cannons, some halberdiers, some great swords, Imperial Guard, some knights of various kinds, and a bunch of skirmishing, or not skirmishing, but the vanguarding light troop pistol dudes, some marksmen, and some raiders, some pistoliers on the horses back there. So it should be an interesting game, and here's how it turned out. Dwarves dropped first, and they wanted first turn, so they get that first round of shooting in. That's him just moving up one of his vengeance seekers there. And as you can see, he just kind of put a line in the sand and said, "You shall not pass." The scenario was breakthrough. So the goal of each of those guys is to get their scoring units, not their banners anymore. I made a mistake during my game, which we'll get into that in another report. I thought, oh, banners must be scored. No, not necessarily. So in this one, it's just your scoring units to get into the other guy's deployment zone. And the dwarves were going to have none of that. They're like, this is the place we hold. You will not pass, and you will not, get out of jail free. We're going to shoot you, and you're going to die. Now, again, this isn't a very heavy shooting dwarf list. It's very melee-centric. And it's a very balanced empire list, I feel, too. So we'll see how it goes. Not much happens in this turn. The volley gun goes off, but doesn't really do much, and then it just smacks a couple of those swordsmen and kills them. But other than that, not really much happens. So we go to bottom of 1, and he does what the Empire will need to do against the dwarf gun lines. He moves forward with a lot of his stuff. He's very cautious about it. He kind of keeps his arcane engine and his hippogriff lord kind of out of the crosshairs of most of the dwarven shooting there, which is very wise. And he just kind of scoots on forward. He really wants to try to get the flank there with the anvil and the volley gun. So that was his thinking, and his knights are kind of just going up there to threaten a charge either on the Forge Wardens or the Vengeance Seeker or even the volley gun if he wants to long bomb that stuff. And his pistoliers come around the side of the cave there or whatever, just to pour some shots in too, maybe get behind the lines, things like that. And yeah, his shooting's very effective. He gets a cannon shot off, and he decides he wants to blow up the volley gun, and he hits it, and he wounds it, and does 3 wounds. So oof. But volley guns have like 5 wounds now, or 4 wounds. I think 5 wounds. So it's still sitting there, doing its thing. Nothing really happens in shooting or magic. He gets a hard target off on one of his units. His halberdiers there, I believe. He took divination, by the way, the Empire player. It's, I think, the strongest lore, if not the strongest lore. It's one of the strongest lores. And so anyone who has access to divination will probably end up taking that. Yeah, the casting values are high, but it's as close to effective as magic will get, I think, in this day and age. There's a little to do because he thought he could take the signature spell twice, the level 0 spell. But in reading the rules, we realized no, that's no longer a thing. You cannot have that duplicate spell unless it's a trait. And so that was unfortunate for him. He technically lost a spell there, but it's a new system, and we're all trying to get used to it. So no biggie. Dwarves move up just a tad. Not much happens. He charges with his Vengeance Seeker into the Pistoliers. Takes a wound on his way in, but he gets in. And yeah. And so this is where we sit. His Vengeance Seeker is trying to guard his volley gun, his anvil power, and he's just waiting to pop out depending on where the halberdiers and the swordsmen go at this point. He's not sure, and I'm not sure. And so he's just kind of keeping his options open there. And he just scoots forward with his dwarves a little to give himself better ranges in the charges. And both of these guys are really good players. And again, we're all just trying to adjust to the new rules. So some mistakes were made on both sides. But, you know, it was a fun game. And I'm glad they let me take pictures of it and share with you, all you lovely viewers. So this is how the board looks. And his shooting goes, and his magic goes very well. His the volley gun takes some more, takes a bigger toll on the swordsman unit, and he gets, I don't know what the spell is, one of the anvil spells or whatever, and just smashes some halbermen, just taking them out as much as he can, thinning the herd. And the Vengeance Seeker strikes with great vengeance and kills 2 of the Pistoliers, which promptly break and run because they don't want any part of that. And we go to the bottom of 2. And a couple things happened here. He did charge the volley gun with his knights, but he could not quite make it. He moves forward everything. His arcane engine comes out of hiding, so does the Hippogriff Lord, and they're just ready to pounce and to support what they need to support. Skirmishers come up to be skirmishers. So not giving them too long of a charge, but enough to be tempting, let's say. Because they failed to charge, his other group of Pistoliers just kind of run up to block any charges that might happen, and also to pour some shots in as they can. Maybe get a charge on the volley gun if the knights get pulverized by it. Who knows? Because they happen to charge just into close range of the volley gun, giving it a much better chance to just knock those guys out. And there we are with how that looks. And yeah, there's that failed charge on the volley gun. Oh no, we can't do it. There's shooting things. And his cannon decides it doesn't want to play anymore. It misfires. So it doesn't explode, but it gets the one where it can't fire anymore for the game. So there's that. And his crossbowmen, however, do put the hurt on his volley gun and get, I think, a couple wounds off, maybe just one. But, yeah, so the Pistoliers pour into it, but I don't think they managed to do much. And there we are, top of 3. And there's some charges. So, if you look on the bottom of the screen, you'll see that his dwarves on his bottom just charge into those halberdiers, and he forgot that the swordsman was a parent unit, and the parent units or the support unit, and the support units can countercharge, which the swordsman promptly did. And so what looked like a pretty even fight there, especially since the dwarves have hatred against halberdiers, turned into not very good situation at all. And the dwarf player was like, oh no, I forgot, kind of thing. But it just, that's how it is. Yeah, and he charges the pistoliers, but with I forget what he charges them with, but he charges it with something, and they promptly run away. And he just kind of moves up to get better positions. He moves his other dwarf unit up. He kind of realizes that his right flank is going to have some trouble there, so one of the dwarf units just kind of turns to just go in to support if the other guys can hold, or if they can't, they'll just go in to try to hopefully hold as much as he can. He wants to get the dwarf lord into the great swords. That was his goal there. So he's just kind of trying to make better positioning all around. That's a better picture of before the swordsmen come in, and again, it's not looking too good for the halberdiers there in that picture. But then, we're coming, guys. The swordsmen jump in, and it looks much better for those halberdiers. Just the static combat res alone is going to be very good for the Empire player here, I feel. During shooting, the dwarf does get a pop on that hippogriff lord, and the volley gun unloads on those poor knights and just wipes them out to a man. They don't get a chance to panic because they dead. They not living no more. The fight goes about as you can expect. The dwarves and the halberdiers lose about equal amounts, but because of combat res, the dwarves break and they run, and the swordsmen overrun promptly into the Vengeance Seeker that was positioned cleverly to stop their advance. And the halberdiers just kind of can't really go anywhere, and so that is where they are. And then we go to the, I think I missed a picture here. I missed the bottom of 4. I'm sorry. Not much happened. The Vengeance Seeker held. It took a wound, but it wasn't going nowhere. I think they're unbreakable, and with distracting, or the one that makes you harder to hit in close combat. Even with the hatred from the priest, it just wasn't. The swordsmen weren't. I don't think the swordsmen had hatred. Honestly, I forget. Either way, it didn't work out. The hippogriff lord tried to charge the other dwarves, but he failed his charge, and he just he failed it spectacularly. Like a 2, a 1, and a 1 or something. So he just kind of pops into the back of that halberdier unit there, and that's all that really happened on that turn. So top of 4 comes. The fleeing pistoliers did go in to chaff. They rallied and they went in to chaff those dwarves there, as you can see. And the dwarves take the bait and double charge that, because they need to get rid of those guys so they can get into the juicy center of the Empire. Other than that, the dwarves go in to help out the Vengeance Seeker against those silly swordsmen that ruined all their plans. And he just unloads with magic and fire, and doesn't really do much. He puts another wound on the Lord, and I think he kills a few guys on the other side. Didn't have a picture of that. During combat, he does break the swordsman unit, I believe, and kills it. Oh, maybe not. Maybe they didn't break. I forget. Either way, he does kill the chaff, and he reforms. So there he is, and you can see during shooting another wound was put on the poor hippogriff. The swordsmen were broken, and they weren't caught. They fled through the halberdiers, which were fine. And both Vengeance Seeker and the other dudes, no, they didn't. Did the Vengeance Seeker overrun? I forget. I think it did. I'm not sure if it should have, to be honest with you. I think that was a mistake. Either way, the dwarves get in, overrun, smash into those halberdiers, and that's the fight he wanted originally. So we'll see how it goes. So bottom of 4, here's how it goes. Unfortunately, those greatswords were in a great position to flank charge the those poor dwarfs. And so he's once again in that situation he did not want to be in. He moves his other units up to kind of chaff up that war throne, and he's hoping he can break those dwarves so he doesn't get rear charged by the war throne unit. And the dwarf obviously is hoping, please, please stay. I want that sweet, sweet, sweet rear charge there. Didn't work. Well, we'll see if it works out or not. The swordsman unit, heroes that they are, rally. And yeah, so here we are. And during shooting, he kills one of the organ guns, which again looks amazing. And the crossbowmen actually do it. They just keep shooting away until it dies. And that's, that's just how it is. Combat goes very poorly for the dwarf player. The great swords combined with the halberds just annihilate. And he doesn't lose too much for his troubles. The magic goes off and gets one more wound off on the volley gun. It's still there, but I think it's down to 1 wound left. And we go into top of 5. Obviously, the unfortunate dwarf unit and the Vengeance Seeker both got just killed. And so they did overrun, and they were out of range and out of line of sight. His other dwarves that broke earlier rally, so that's good. And they're kind of just positioning themselves and hoping they'll get a chance to charge again. He does charge the skirmishers, or not the skirmishers, the light troops that were put in his way, and he's firing his Forge Warden with all his worth at that cannon over there. To little effect so far, but we'll see if he can't just pop a few more wounds on there. The Vengeance Seeker also gets on that hill to have a go at the cannon as well if he can. And yeah, the dwarf guy's just banking on his 2 center units to get into the enemy deployment zone as soon as possible, because those great swords are really threatening to get in right now. That's a better picture there. He does charge those swordsman unit that are fleeing. They're a support unit, so they don't cause panics, I don't believe. Dwarves don't catch them, obviously. They're dwarves. And there you go. In combat, obviously the Deep Watch just obliterate those skirmishers, and there they sit. And on bottom of 5, he does rally with those swordsmen, and they come back. He charges the volley gun with the great swords. He positions his Hippogriff Lord better to get a charge on either the dwarf unit over there or the anvil, depending. His great swords turn around, or his halberdiers reform and turn around, and his swordsmen just kind of position themselves to just guard, I guess. And yeah, that is where we sit at the bottom of 5. The cannon makes short work of the Vengeance Seeker. It just gets a cannon to the face, and yeah, that's what happens when you stare down a cannon. It was Grape Shot, I think, that got him, and now he's a dead Vengeance Seeker. The great swords do what great swords do, and just straight up murder the volley gun. And we go to top of 6. So he does what he can. I think he does try to charge with the dwarves, but he can't. He doesn't make it. He does charge his deep watch into those. What are they called? The marksmen, the crossbowmen over there. His king units charge the swordsmen, which flee, and obviously it's a failed charge, so he kind of shuffles forward. Yeah, and this is where we sit, and it's. I mean, he hasn't lost too much, but it's enough. I obviously didn't finish out typing the title of the slide, but it's bottom of 6. Trust me. The Hippogriff Lord finally decides to make a charge, and he charges into those dwarves there. The great swords go into the anvil. The halberdiers move up. The swordsmen rally. The deep watch obviously just slaughtered those crossbowmen, and that is the end of the game. I didn't stay for points tallying, but the Empire of Sonnstahl did win. They went up in the brackets there. I'm pretty sure it was tie in the objective point, or the secondary objective category, but the Empire was able to kill more dwarf flesh thanks to being able to slaughter both the organ guns, and he did kill the ruin as well at the end there. And just wasn't able. The dwarf player just wasn't able to get enough points on the board. It was a great game. It was very fun to watch. I hope you guys enjoyed my retelling of it. And yeah, some closing thoughts for you guys. It's interesting to be an observer. It's fun to watch sometimes. Dwarves are really scary in melee, I should say. But they just you can't get flank charged by like. Yeah, they get bonuses when they're flank charged with their hold stone or whatever it's called. But if you don't have that in the unit, or if it's just never good to have someone in your flank. It just never is. And so that didn't go so well for Mr. Dwarf guy. Shooting still valid. Still a valid strategy. It's really toned down, just like magic is. But it can still be an effective part of the game if you use it right, or if you just get lucky rolls. Let's be honest. Cannons and volley guns and all that stuff is still very reliant on not misfiring. You cannot misfire with those, or else it just invalidates them. And they're more expensive now, and so it's just I don't know. They're still worth bringing, in my opinion. I wouldn't overinvest, but they're still a valid portion of the game. Maneuvering is still the most important part of the game. Those flank charges that he was able to get, the counter charge, okay, that I honestly forgot Empire could do that. The only Empire guy I play is that knight, the guy who runs an all knights list, and yeah, there's no counter charge bullshit there, but it was a fun game, and yeah, so you'll get to see how I do in my next battle report. I take my Undying Dynasties for a spin in this new version. But hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks.